On today's Hot Sheet, I'm discussing home repair costs, the Realtor.com rental report for April, and mortgage application data. Today is Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. I'm Byron Lazine, and the Hot Sheet starts now. Good morning. Welcome to the Hot Sheet. Let me know in the live chat which market you are tuning in from. Hit that thumbs up. And if you've never done so, go down below. It's very simple. Hit the subscribe and the notification bell here on the @NowBam YouTube channel. And let's kick it off with some analysis around home repair costs. You know, what's interesting is the home repair costs have basically mimicked everything else: inflation, home values. If we look at the home values by decade, my favorite chart, which is available for everybody inside of their BAMX platform, all of the BAMX members, US home price growth by decade. Why do I love this chart? Because you can shut up Uncle Billy with this chart pretty easily. Oh, I think home prices are going to crash. Really? Which of the last 4 decades has that happened? Okay. Your little beautiful niece here is buying a home for the next 10 years. When you buy on a 10-year run, home values always go up. And so far this decade, they've gone up 47.1% in the 2020s. 47.1% is an interesting number because it's almost right in line with how far home repair costs have gone up. The analysis from Resi Club and a Verisic model remodel index, says that home repair costs are 40% above the pre-pandemic benchmark. So almost in line with where home values have gone. In fact, we can go state by state and take a look at the 5-year change in home repair costs. This will also be available for everybody inside of BAMX. If you look at Florida, 41% on 5-year change in home repair costs. This is almost in line to the state of how much the home values have gone up. Georgia's at 41%, South Carolina at 42%, Texas at 36% on home repair costs. We go to California at 40%, New York at 44%. Okay. The low here might be Alaska. I'm seeing at 35%. I don't see anything below that that's sticking out. No, nope, that would be the lowest. Okay. You got Maine and at 37%, Nevada at 37%. The average across the state or across the country is 41 or 40% on home repair costs. Makes sense. It's also one of the reasons why some of these home repairs have slowed down a little bit, okay, is because of this 5-year increase. Obviously, during the pandemic, there was a surge in demand for housing and for remodeling projects as people were constrained into the home and wanted to make it fit their current needs. There's also a constraint on supply and on labor, which accelerated the repair costs. Now that some of those supply chains has eased up, you've seen those costs come down or at least level off. According to the index, U.S. home repair and remodeling costs rose 4.1% over the past 12 months between April to April year over year. And that's above the 3.4% of overall inflation, just slightly above inflation at 3.4% during that same window. So this is really it's moving with the home value acceleration. It's moving with inflation, right? It's slowed down the last 12 months, just as inflation has. The increases are much slower rate right now, just like inflation is at a much slower rate. And, we'll just have to continue to see what happens. But home repair costs, it kind of like what's happened with inflation. Okay, milk has now gone up to a certain price. You're not going to see it drop back down. We just don't want it to keep going up at the same price, right? You're probably going to see something similar with home repair costs. Oh my gosh, it costs this much more to go redo my patio, and maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it's like it's not going to go back to 4 or 5 year ago pricing. We just don't want that acceleration, hopefully, just like in inflation, to continue to go up at the rate it did during the pandemic. Here's the locations for the last 12 months. Florida in at 3.5%. That's lower than the Northeast. Okay, one of the reasons for that, again, you're seeing states with the higher inventory where the markets is slowing down. You're also seeing these repairs, the acceleration of repair costs slowing down. Texas at 3.3%, where you got inventory shortages and still a very much more competitive market. You got these costs higher over the last 12 months. New York at 5.3%, Connecticut coming at 5.7%, Connecticut, Massachusetts area, right? Where inventory is a lot less. So there's your 1 year change. Again, this will be available for you guys inside of BAMX. Another thing we want to continue to see, and talked about it yesterday, talked about it really throughout the week, but yesterday we were talking about some of the Fed data is we want real-time rents. We want to hopefully have the Fed consider real-time rents. We talked about the UK now being down almost at their target of 2% on inflation. And if we calculated inflation the same way that they did, pulling out owner's equivalent rent and just looked at real-time rents, we too might be at 2% inflation, the Fed's actual target. Well, right now, according to a Realtor.com report for April, national rents fell for the 9th straight month. Sunbelt cities see the biggest drops. Makes sense. Sunbelt cities is where the boom in multifamily inventory has come. The biggest inventory construction or biggest multifamily construction numbers of all time. And those are going to continue to come online this year. So continue to see Sunbelt cities drop on rental costs, making it more affordable for those who need housing who are considering renting. Okay. So in April of this year, national rents declined by 0.7% year over year, according to Realtor.com's latest rental report. We have analysis up on nowbam.com, and we'll have the slides and the data available for everybody inside of BAMX. Danielle Hale, chief economist at Realtor.com. We've had her on the Knowledge Brokers Pod in the past. Says that in an ever-fluctuating real estate market, renters will find that trends vary significantly by location. Renters in some historically expensive areas are seeing lower prices compared to what they would have paid at the peak of the market, while many relatively affordable markets are witnessing a continued rise in rental costs to new highs, and the scales could tip even more markets later this summer. Overall, though, rents are coming down, and that's the number that I want to track and take a look at when we consider inflation. Okay. Declining rents across the country. The national median rent for 0 to 2 bedroom units fell by 0.7% year over year in April, reaching $1,723. With 9 consecutive months of decline, rents are just 33 or 1.9% below their peak in August 22. Listen, 1.9% doesn't sound like a lot, and 9 consecutive months of a decline equaling just $33 below peak is not going to change anybody's life. Okay. I'm not trying to make that argument. $33 is going to change anybody's life. But when you look at how much rents have gone up, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10% in any given year, and they just consistently, rents always go up, never go down. This type, after the acceleration of 15% for rents, this type of stabilization in the market, this type of slowdown is very healthy, very good for where we could be heading in the future with inflation. Studios experienced the largest drop, with median rents falling by 1.7% year over year to almost $1,450, down 3.2% from their October 22 peak. One bedroom units saw 11th consecutive months of declines, with median rents falling by 1.4% to $1,600. Two bedroom units also declined by 0.7%, with median rents at $1,900, a little bit over $1,900, 1.9% below their August 2022 peak. Okay. Here are some of the biggest savings. They're happening in the South and the West markets. Renters in Austin, Texas, Las Vegas, San Francisco enjoyed the biggest rent savings. Austin saw the largest percentage drop. Obviously, it's been a boom area for multifamily building, as well as new home building. Median rents falling by 11.5% in Austin. It's $195 from their peak in April 2020 or September 2022. $195 now, that can impact somebody's monthly expenses. That's a good deal for somebody there. It's down to $1,494, so basically $1,500 in Austin for the median rent. Decline is partly attributed to that new influx of multifamily homes, increase in rental vacancy rate. San Francisco and Vegas saw very notable reductions. Las Vegas decreased by 11.1%. It's 184 bucks from their peak. San Francisco 9.9%, which equals 303 bucks for that market. Okay. Indianapolis, Milwaukee, and Minneapolis would be the opposite. All three of those markets are up 4.5%, 3.8%, 2.5%. Taking a look at some of the other largest metros, drop one into the live chat if there's something you want to take a look at quickly here. We've got Atlanta year over year down. So from 1600 from 1767, so 150 bucks savings there. Baltimore is down 1700 for almost 100 bucks there, or just over $100 from 1872 on their rent peak, and now at $1,762. You've got Boston, which is down below 3,000 over peaking out over 3,000. Charlotte down to 1,500 from almost 1,700. Cleveland's at 1,200. Previously, Cleveland's really unchanged, 1,200 to 1,200. So no change in Cleveland. Dallas down $100 for under 1,500 when they were at 1,600. So all right, there's some highlights there on some local markets. That's your rental report. You can find more information on that, obviously, inside of BAMX, or going over to nowbam.com for the full coverage on that. Mortgage applications. Data is out from Mortgage Banker Association. Headline would read this: mortgage applications increased 1.9% from 1 week earlier. Unfortunately, that is not the data that we're interested in. The data that we're interested in is the unadjusted purchase index. That decreased yet again, 2% compared with the previous week. It's also 11% lower than the same week 1 year ago. So when it comes to buyers who are using a mortgage, there is less demand than there was last year. And last year there was less demand than there was the year before. That's the reality. So we can't use talking points from 2022 when we talk about demand, when we talk about buyer competition, when we talk about an interest in certain properties at certain price points. Obviously, I'll have more interest, but when we're generally speaking about the market, it's not the same as it was in 2022. It's more unaffordable for more people, and that's reflective in these numbers. Why did the overall mortgage composite index go up over last week, 1.9%? It's because of the refinances. The refinance index increased 7% from the previous week, and it was 21% higher than the same week 1 year ago, while the 30-year fix is mostly unchanged from a year ago. I mean, let's just take a look. Yesterday, 30-year fix came in at 7.05. Okay, so what was it in May of last year? I'll tell you. May of last year, it was 6.95. So on this day last year, it was 6.95. It started creeping up a little bit. It hit 7.12, which is right where we were on yesterday, basically. Not yesterday, but the day before, on Monday, we're basically there. So we are essentially at the same exact place right now on the 30-year fixed that we were this time last year. Yet the refinances increased 7% from last week and 21% higher than the same week a year ago. It's just as expensive to refinance today as it was 1 year ago. It's another indication that the U.S. homeowner, the U.S. consumer needs a little bit more cash fluidity. Why would you be refinancing right now, especially when 80+% are sitting under 4% on the 30-year fix, or under 5% on the 30-year fix? Why would you be refinancing? There's a real need to refinance, so those numbers are up. That gives me a little bit of a pause on, maybe where the consumer and the U.S. homeowner is at right now. I'd also be thinking, if people are considering refinancing, they're also considering selling. Um, we have an agent here downstairs. Yesterday was pulling a bunch of data from PropStream. Link up PropStream. We've got a great opportunity to get connected with them and reaching out to people with a little bit of a higher interest rate. So maybe they bought in the end of 2022, and maybe that's squeezing them a little bit. That's an opportunity to reach out to those homeowners and have a conversation. Are you thinking about refinancing? Are you thinking about selling? Thinking about keeping it? Well, how's it working for you? Especially if it's a second home, it's a rental property. With the cost of maintaining that home ownership, we talked about that here this week. All those things are stuff people would consider. I'd use a source like PropStream to connect with those people. You can source that data very easily. NBA Vice President, Deputy Chief Economist Joel Kahn said this: the 30-year fixed rate declined third straight week, dropping to 7.1%, lowest level in 7 weeks. But yet we see less people taking these mortgage applications. Rents coming down from recent highs spurred some borrowers to act, with increases across both conventional and government refinance options. VA refinances had a double-digit increase for the third consecutive week. And although the current level of refinance is still well below historical average, purchase activity continues to lag despite this recent decline in rates, down 11% from a year ago, as potential buyers still face limited for-sale inventory and high list prices. So NBA president seems or vice president seems to be saying, hey, the high list prices are keeping people on the sidelines. I think it's that combined with where the rates are would be a recipe for some people to not be able to afford to make that move. I guess you could argue that both ways. All right. Some other interesting news I'll just mention as we look at VA. VA refinances, VA loans came out, or VA came out with a bit of information yesterday that will help. I'm trying to pull up the report. Let me see if I can get it here so I can just cover that. There was some good information on VA. We've been concerned about VA. Obviously, here it is. VA to roll out temporary fix to buyer agent commission problem. The VA's deputy director, Michelle Corden, made an announcement to NBA Secondary Conference. The United States Department of Veteran Affairs will soon release a circular that bridges the gap on agency law that prohibits VA buyer from paying their real estate agent compensation. So basically, they're going to come up with a policy where a veteran is allowed to use buyer broker to purchase a home using their VA benefit that may not, any under circumstances, be charged brokerage fee. They're going to come up with a policy that changes that and gets around that, so that VA buyers are no longer impacted with this proposed settlement and the rule there. All right, maybe we'll cover a little bit of that. Some DOJ news. It's not very useful as well. You can go read about that on nowbam.com. Maybe I'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow. All right, that's your hot sheet. Consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that notification bell right down below. I know you can do it. It's right down below. If you enjoy these hot sheets every single day, we'd love for you to consider doing that. If you want more out of everything that we do at BAM, including content done for you every single Friday, join BAMX. Use code HOT to get 10% off of BAMX. Use code HOT to get 10% off of BAMX today. I will see you guys back here tomorrow, 9:30 on the East, 6:30 in the West. You know the deal in between. Until then, toodaloo.